Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the July 12th Committee of the Whole meeting. Please rise for the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call.
Jeff Ranahan, First Ward.
Bill Carlos, Second Ward.
Ann Berger, Third Ward.
Michael Swiswold, Fourth Ward. Stefan Krakow, Fifth Ward.
Ann Shershin, Sixth Ward.
Felicia Salvatore, Town Clerk.
John Baisley, Town Supervisor. Welcome, everybody, to tonight's meeting. Committee of the Whole meeting tonight. We have a presentation by Susan Brown, President of Nuvance Health, Vassar Brothers Hospital. And we also have a presentation by Burns Engineering, proposed zoning change for Beacon Residential, 297 Violet Avenue, which we've seen before. It's come back. It's been a few years. And then we have committee reports. I'd like to welcome Susan Browning and her team from Nuvance. Come on up. It's all about you. Just while they're setting it up, just let everyone know, I met with Susan a few months ago and toured Vassar, and we discussed some of the things that she thinks that they'll be changing and working on. And being that even though they're not in the town, they serve our residents and our community, so we thought it'd be good that they came and they could speak about what she's got coming up.
Thank you very much, Supervisor Baisley. So nice to meet you all this evening. Susan Browning, I've been here as the president of Vassar.
Maybe.
You don't hear me. I've been here as the president of Vassar Brothers Medical Center for just about 5 months. I spent just more than 30 years, first 30 years of my career downstate, starting at New York Presbyterian Brooklyn Methodist and then moving over to Northwell Health. And I'm absolutely delighted to be here. I am also a resident now of this community. So what I say this evening is very impactful for me personally, as well as for my family. I would like to just introduce Dr. Koronis, Mariana Koronis.
Hi, good evening. Thank you for having us here. I'm Mariana Koronis. I am the Chair and Medical Director of the Emergency Department at Vassar. I've been in that position for approximately 18 months, so fairly new. Not as new as Susan, but fairly new. I previously I was recruited from St. Joseph's University Medical Center in New Jersey, which is the third busiest ED in the country, and I'm delighted to bring my experience here to Vassar and to the community. So thank you for having us.
And Dr. Christopher Larock.
Great. Hi, folks. Thanks for having us and giving us an audience. Chris Larock. I'm an emergency medicine physician by background. Also, I have 2 roles at the network level for Nuvance Health. The first is that I'm the president of the Nuvance Health medical practice. We have an employed medical practice of about 1,200 clinicians across our 7 hospitals, 100 outpatient sites, the 250 square miles that we serve. And I'm also the chief medical officer for the network, so I'm ultimately responsible for the quality of the clinical operations that are delivered across the network, including Vassar Brothers Medical Center.
Thank you. So we have a little bit of a presentation, but really it's meant to engender some thought and some dialogue to the extent that you may wish to have dialogue with us. The first slide that's in this presentation is really just a little bit about us, and it's meant to level set because some of you may know about Vassar, and some of you may not have as much familiarity. So really just starting with, we've been around for 140 years. We moved from the site that we were into our new building in the beginning of 2021. But the services that were in the older building have moved over into the new building. The people that were in the old building moved over into the new building. So it's really a 140-year legacy of serving this community. We are one of the largest employers in Dutchess County, for sure. We have 2,400 employees on the campus of Vassar Brothers Medical Center. We're also a large teaching entity. We have 175 physician residents and fellows. These are the physicians that are just out of training, just after medical school. We have 675 physicians on our medical staff who practice there. At any point in time, inpatients in the building, we have about 300 inpatients, sometimes up to 350 inpatients. So it'll depend on the day of the week, the time of the day. We deliver 2,500 babies a year. 10% of those are babies that are in need of neonatal intensive care, and we offer the highest level of neonatal intensive care between Westchester and Albany. We do 10,000 surgical procedures a year. So we really are a very, very busy organization. We also see, of course, 55,000 patients in our emergency department any given year. So it's about 150 a day, and Dr. Coronas will get into that a little bit more. And as we think about this and the work that we do, really spanning from birth to patients that are in the most fragile, vulnerable moments of their entire life, we take that very seriously. And we really do focus on quality and on quality outcomes. And as part of that, we have sought at every point along our development various accreditations, whether it be for cancer, for heart, the outcomes that we do for neonatal care, for stroke. So we're really, really proud of the clinical outcomes that we provide. And we also, certainly, and part of the reason that we're here tonight, are looking to partner much more intently with our community and listen to our community. I was interviewed throughout the period of September through December. I had the privilege of meeting 55 people during the search process. It was really quite an incredible search process. And I share that with you because it was December 13th when I sat in the boardroom at Vassar Brothers Medical Center, and I was being interviewed by the board of directors. And we spent about 2 hours together. We were getting towards the end of the interview. And I looked at the board and I said, okay, so my first 100 days, what's most important? What's most important to you? And this board that is comprised of 12 members, leaders of the community, names that you would probably recognize, your neighbors, your friends, perhaps your relatives. The board looked at me and 1, 2, 3, 4 went around and said, it's RED, our emergency department. Please focus when you get here on the emergency department. And so as I came over and I stepped over the threshold, that's part of the work that we started to do, is to look at our emergency department. And I'm going to ask Dr. Coronas to really speak from the perspective of what does it look like on the inside looking out? Because on the outside looking in, and listen, I see the same articles that you read, right? And I was reading them before I even got here. Terribly long waits in the emergency department. Communication that may not be what it is. So I've talked about the clinical outcomes that Vassar offers, and we do offer really great care, and we have incredible clinical outcomes. But then what you hear in the paper and what the experience has been, either for you personally or your friends or relatives, has been the long waits, the lack of communication. And there's an immediate disconnect. So I'd like Dr. Coronas, if you could speak about it from your perspective.
Thank you. I think what's important to just kind of, again, level set, to use your phrase, is, and some of this might be things that you've already heard, but I think it's important to review it, if not hear it for the first time. COVID was, and to bring COVID into it, COVID was an incredibly huge transition point for everybody. Particularly in healthcare and frontline, it was multiple transition points which got us to where we are today, and really was the genesis of most of the challenges, if not all of them, that we are facing and are still trying on a daily basis to turn around, address, and pivot around. A lot of what we experienced, and experienced personally as well from the local area, was just an extreme amount of burnout that occurred with our frontline healthcare workers during that time. And what I think a lot of people don't essentially realize, unless they speak to a good amount of them, is that what we anticipated for normal attrition of our healthcare workforce on the front line, people moving to different positions outside of that frontline setting, retirements and other types of employment transitions over the course of 5, 10, and 15 years, became incredibly accelerated after COVID. People decided that they did not want to stay in that setting. what was stressful to begin with became much more incredibly stressful afterwards. And the trauma that was associated with it, the lack of resources that followed, and the other challenges just pivoted people to just cross over that threshold in much larger numbers than we anticipated. The reserve that was supposed to replenish that normal transition and attrition of people going out of the workforce and into their next phase, whether it was retirement or something else, was not there enough to accommodate that large exodus. And so we were left with large gaps and large areas where staff was just lost, and gaps we could not fill. Some of that was also mirrored in the physician area, but the largest workforce that was affected was our nursing workforce. And we continue to try and battle that uphill in order to bridge that, and we have not done that. Now, this is not a unique Vassar problem. This is a global issue across the country. There are pockets of places that are suffering a lot worse than us. There are some rural communities that probably had recruitment issues more so before COVID, just based on geography, that are suffering a little bit more. But there are pockets just like ours that are still suffering, and this is not something that is unique to us. I want to mention also that as we battle through what it is right now with our nursing workforce shortages and the challenges and the pressures that we are feeling for that, something else is also starting to evolve that I want to put out there as well, is that while our physician workforce has remained stable, that the outlook for that is also very concerning. I want to tell this board that this year and last year, but mostly this year, the number of medical students applying for emergency medicine residency spots dropped dramatically. Emergency medicine for over a decade, probably 2 decades, has been one of the most competitive specialties to match into after medical school. It was very highly sought after. There were never open positions after the national match, which is what all medical students go through after they graduate medical school to get their specialty position. Last year, and even more so this year, we had an enormous amount of unfilled positions. And what this is telling us is that what we're experiencing in our nursing workforce is starting to happen in our physician workforce. And what is just ominous about that is that in 10 years from now, if we don't really take a look at where we are with our nursing and physician and how to fix these problems, that we are going to be facing both physician and nursing workforce issues. And I worry, not only as a physician that serves the community, but for my family, who will take care of us when we're at our most vulnerable state? Who will be there for us in the emergency department when we are at our sickest? So as we try and partner with the community as physicians to provide care, we are thinking of a decade from now and what it's going to look like and how do we prepare for that. So I just wanted to kind of give a little bit of the landscape of what's happening and how we got there, and sort of the things that keep me up at night and probably keep you up at night as well, of what's coming down the pike potentially, and it is concerning.
So what Dr. Coronis talks about is not only a problem today, but it's the pipeline leading into it, right? So again, I read quite a bit, and not specific necessarily to Vassar, but one of the things that I will read about hospitals that are going through a staffing crisis is, well, why don't you just open more budget lines? Why don't you just do more outreach? Why don't you put, billboards and more ads up? It's not about the budget, particularly not at Vassar. We've got the budgeted lines. We want to hire these positions. It's really about the availability of who's there to be hired because of what Dr. Coronis just explained, this mass exodus of people retiring right after COVID, people choosing to leave the bedside after COVID. So, what we see is, and we're doing a lot of outreach at Vassar with our local colleges. I've been out to Marist, I've been to New Paltz. They do not have nursing programs. Maybe they'll get them in the future. We'll have to see. That'll be up to their leadership. But we do a lot of outreach with Dutchess County Community College, with Across the River Mount St. Mary, really trying to look at how do we build that pipeline. And what we also know, and I've had, colleagues tell me this, oh, gee, my daughter or my son was applying to nursing school. They had great grades. They've been put on a waiting list. They've been denied admission. What's going on? Don't we need nurses? And the answer to that is yes, we need nurses. But when the senior nurses retired, there's nobody left, or not enough people left to teach the nurses. So in last year alone, 91,000 qualified applicants to nursing schools were turned away for admission in this country. They're qualified. They were turned away because there's nobody to teach them.
Because of?
The teachers. The more senior nurses have been the faculty in the nursing schools. The more senior nurses have been the ones that have hosted the rotations in the hospitals in order for the nurses to gain the skills that they need. The clinical bedside. Thank you. And so the opportunity for people to become nurses, as much as there is a need for that, is depressed, right? So we look at this and we say, okay, well, we know we've got vacancies, and it's, we would love to hire into all the budgeted positions that we have. We know also, one of the other things that we will read is, gosh, if all the hospitals in the country would just hire back everybody that was terminated because they didn't have a COVID vaccine, that would fill all the vacancies. Well, at Vassar, 6 people left the organization because they didn't have the federally mandated COVID vaccine. And only 4 of them are clinical. And when I say clinical, not all nurses. There was a phlebotomist, there was a nurse, there was a patient care tech, there was a mechanic, there was a secretary. So they're not, 6 people isn't gonna fill the gap that we have either. So some of the things that we really start to do and we think about creatively, and we've got committees in the hospital that look at this. We work with some of our frontline nurses on helping to define this. Some of our frontline nurses are here in the audience this evening, and I'm appreciative of their presence and their support. We have nurse residency and fellowship programs. So if, in the past, if a nurse wanted to, move into a particular specialty, she may need to have, certain years of training. Well, we've tried to compress some of that and do very intensive training and bring people in for residencies, for fellowships. We've just put in place, as of June 1st, a shadowing program. And we did that specifically because part of what we were seeing was we were actually starting to gain some traction and fill some of the vacancies. And then people would come in, and within a month, they were gone. And it wasn't just nurses, it was nurses, it's patient care techs, it's environmental service aides, it's patient care sitters. So we're hiring and we're getting people across the threshold. Things are starting to open up a little bit, but they leave, and they leave because the number one thing they say is, gosh, I didn't know the work was so hard. This is not the job that I signed up for. So we decided, okay, before we go through that, let's give people the opportunity to come in before they're employed and shadow somebody and see if it really is the job that they like to do. So we just started that June 1st, and we'll have to come back to you and let you know if we're successful. Competitive compensation, benefits packages, tuition reimbursement. Walk-in Wednesdays is something that we started a number of months ago, where on Wednesdays, I think it's every other Wednesday, our recruitment team sits in the lobby of the hospital, and it's advertised on LinkedIn, and people can walk in right from the street, no appointment necessary. They can apply for a job, the manager comes down, interviews them on the spot. They'll come up, they'll look on the nursing unit or in any department. And if they're deemed to be a good fit, they can get an offer on the spot pending references and pending background checks. Yesterday, we had 164 people come into the hospital for Walk-in Wednesday. Right? So again, that's gaining some traction. So it's the open houses, sign-on bonuses, referral bonuses. So we're really trying in every regard to respond to the national crisis. When I look at the ED again, just in the last 10 weeks, we have not filled yet, but we have 10 acceptances for registered nurses in the emergency department, which is great. That'll put a dent into the vacancies that we do have. Not everybody's here yet. Some people are moving from out of state. One person is coming from out of the country because we also have an international nursing program. So we're really trying to innovate and be as responsive as possible. And in that light, Dr. Cronus.
Okay, great. So in listening to the community and hearing all of the things that you are saying that are pressure points when you come in to seek care, the long waits and the lack of communication are the biggest are things that we're hearing. I read all of the comments that come through from the surveys that everyone fills out after they receive care at Vassar, and those are common themes. Another common theme, though, is always that when I did get in front of the nurse or the physician or the team, the care was excellent, the care was compassionate. So we have no doubts that we are providing you with excellent, compassionate, humanistic care. Getting you in front of the team timely and keeping you informed on what the delays are really the areas that we have to focus on. So what we decided that we needed to take a step back and look, because nothing was really addressing those. We tried many things since I got here, changes in positioning people, and I mean, a lot of little things. But what we decided was we had to do something drastically and innovatively different. Barring we did not have any additional resources, as Susan just outlined. There were no more staff to get. There were no more nurses. There were no more patient care techs. There isn't anything extra that we were able to put into putting together an innovative model. So how do we go back to the drawing board and really take what we have and redefine every element of it and try and make it at least a little bit better to address some of those pressure points? So about 6 weeks ago, we launched, after a pretty hefty preparation period, something called our rapid assessment process. We call it RAP for short because rapid assessment process is a really long phrase. And what was our goal exactly to address the communication pieces and the wait times? So what did we change? So what we did was, I want to walk you for a minute, if we can, through just kind of like a traditional linear flow through any emergency department that you will go to, or most, I would say 99% of them. You walk in, you register, you see a registration person usually, they register and they take some preliminary intake information, your license and things of that nature. Then you usually sit for a second or 2 or 5 minutes. A nurse will then come take you and do a triage assessment. Well, they'll take your chief complaint and your vital signs and ask you a bunch of other important questions about your history. And then you will go back and sit and wait. If there's a room open, you'll go into a room. Usually there isn't, as is with the state of most emergency departments these days. And then when a bed is available, you will be brought back into that bed. Well, you will be seen by yet another nurse who is now your bedside nurse, who will take more vital signs, ask some more questions, some more in-depth questions. And then the doctor will come in. Sometimes the doctor will come in at the same time as the nurse, sometimes right after. And then they will do their assessment, order some blood work, maybe some imaging like an X-ray or a CAT scan, and order some medications. That's a linear flow of acute care in an emergency department. And I'm sure you have all been there to an emergency department or with your loved one to kind of validate that it's kind of how the way it works. Well, unfortunately, with resources being not what we need them to be, a linear flow in emergency departments like Vassar, which there are many, is really not where we need to be right now. So how do we take what we have and redefine that flow to get you where you need to be, which is in front of the physician and the bedside nurse that's taking care of you for the duration of your stay. So that is where the rapid assessment process model came through. We decided to take you straight from the registration process into an intake room inside the emergency department, where the doctor that will be taking care of you for the duration of your visit actually does the intake with the nurse together as a team. What we did then was we redefined the nursing care teams in the rest of the ER in the regular care zones so that they would nurse as a team. That enabled them to have more bandwidth to help take care of all the patients in the zone together. They still had their patients that they owned themselves and primarily took care of, but having them in a team nursing type of a model, the premise was so that they would have more ability to take care of patients together and have bandwidth to kind of stretch out and be able to jump in and help. And we realigned some staffing and resources. We increased the number of patient care techs that we had in order to bridge some of the gaps for nursing. So we basically just made some extra resources from things that we had, realigned some things, redefined the care teams, we redesigned the team that was rowing in the boat, basically, to row better. It was a lot more complex than I'm summarizing, as you probably could imagine. It took a lot of preparation. It took a lot of rounding and sitting with staff to get their feedback and their input. It didn't look the same on launch day that it did the day that we put it down on the whiteboard in our conference room, and it certainly doesn't look the same today as it did on June 12th when we launched it. So it is an ever-evolving model of care in order to address the concerns. And some days it works wonderfully, and some days it doesn't work as well. And the goal, which I think we have gotten to right now, is that we have more days where we are achieving the goals of communicating better and having you wait less than we did before, which was mostly every day you were waiting long and there was very little communication. So that's where we are right now. If I needed to give you some numbers, because you guys all look like numbers people, I would say that approximately our wait times and our length of stay, if you were to be seen and discharged at Vassar right now, so from the moment you walked in to the moment you left with those discharge papers, we've been able to decrease it by about 50 minutes. So in minutes speak, in metrics speak, that's pretty significant. And I think that if you were to come be a patient, I think 50 minutes of time would be felt if you were to come in and experience it at that time. Again, I mentioned earlier that I read all the comments every day, all the surveys that come in. I read all the good stuff and the bad stuff. We share it with the team. We have seen an increase in some really great feedback, which validates that really all that hard work that we're putting the team through to kind of redefine the model and do something different is really resonating with all of you, with the patients, which really helps motivate everyone to keep going and forging forward. I put some of these comments up. They came from some from social media and some from our surveys. And again, this is really the goal, is to hear it from all of you, from your voices, from your experiences, that something is better, and that's what keeps us going. And our commitment to everyone here is that we will continue to move forward. And if it's not this model in 6 months, it'll be something else, but it will be to continue to innovate and look at our processes and our flow to make sure that we have your comments and your feedback at our best interests, and of course your care, in order to improve our department.
So is this model strictly at Vassar? It's not going to be used out in Northern Dutchess as well, or?
Actually, we learned a lot. Northern Dutchess also launched a similar model.
Yeah.
They have a different patient acuity level. The acuity at Vassar is very high. And they also have a different geography. I don't mean place within Dutchess County, but the layout of their emergency department is different. But we looked at that. We looked at Norwalk. We read the literature. And really looked at best practices, had some folks in to help us, and not consultants, but I mean, friends at other sites. They looked at it and they gave us ideas, and did a lot of talking with our frontline team, inclusive of the PCTs, the registered nurses, the registrars, lots of huddles, and very much, and would be remiss if I didn't give a shout out to some of whom were online with us, our Patient and Family Advisory Council. These are members of the community who joined with us, and we took their input as well about what is it that's important to them as they're waiting, what is it that's important to them as they're flowing through the process, and we continue to. We have another Patient and Family Advisory Council meeting tomorrow evening.
Well, I'm glad you're listening to your staff, because they're the ones on the front line facing the patients. And they're the ones who know how the process really should work.
Yep.
They may not control the budget and how it works that way, but listening to them actually can make your job a lot easier. So I appreciate the fact you listen to your staff.
100%, we agree.
Do you have more of your presentation?
No, this is the last
That
slide.
Okay.
Can you email me that, and if somebody watching had any questions, his contact info on that, so that they could contact you?
Absolutely.
So watching that building get built was impressive. I would hate to pay the monthly bill on that. So I'm impressed by the fact that you people are here and actually have some time to come out to the community, because I gotta imagine it's a huge task. The people that work there are fantastic. The services are fantastic. There was a point where I believed if you wanted to get quality care where it was something out of the ordinary, you had to go down to New York City, because we were so close to New York City, and you had all these different experts and top doctors. The interesting thing that seems to be occurring is that they're coming up here. That when a couple of you, I think, mentioned being recruited.
Yes.
I never in my lifetime thought that you would drive down the road and get the best care in the world, but that's kind of where we're headed here in Poughkeepsie, which is really cool. You can go to Vassar, the nursing staff is fantastic, the doctors are, you can't, like I said, they come up here from New York City and from all over the country, evidently. So I very much appreciate it. The people in this community should appreciate it. We're very lucky because the difference, I think, in people's lives, and even the ER, you go there, if you spend an hour, you spend 10 hours, it is what it is. To me, it comes back around to the actual quality care that you're getting. And I get that the staff is stressed, it's stretched to the maximum these days, and it has been through COVID and after, and I feel for them, but I appreciate the fact that they do care, they do a great job. I had a family member there recently, and everything was as good as could be. And you walk in, I mean, it's beautiful. You know, it's as nice as it can be. It's finally where something in this community takes advantage of the natural beauty. It's a great place, but you have a view of the river that's amazing. So everything has been thought out really well and appears to be executed really well at this point. The fact that you're going through to try to perfect it as best you can and change it and adapt it and make it even better for the people coming through the doors. People that have a lot of access to wealth and care, they can go all over the world. There's people from town Poughkeepsie, City of Poughkeepsie, Dutchess County, they go to Vassar and they get the same care as the people that can go down to New York City or fly in from different countries. So I'm impressed, I appreciate it. The time you spent to come here to our town board meeting is also impressive because we all live here together, we interact, it's the world that we're in. So we are benefiting, you're in the city, but the town of Poughkeepsie residents benefit so much. And like I said, I just, if I had a complaint, I'd tell you, but like my experience there 2 weeks ago was phenomenal. My family member went in, and again, the staff is I think they're doing a tremendous job given the fact that there's not a million people lining up to do everything all the time. So thank you.
Thank you.
It's just a shame to me that people didn't listen to their staff sooner than COVID, because I know quite a few people that worked there that were extremely stressed. And then when COVID hit, that was the last straw. So it is a shame that, I mean, it's great, but I think it was just a little late.
And let's face it, healthcare's a mess
Yeah.
everywhere in this country, everywhere. Even at the office, doctor's offices, they can't keep staff. The turnover's terrible. They can't get quality people to work there. There's so many other reasons besides COVID that all this is kind of happening, and people don't want to go to medical school. I don't know if it's these big groups. I mean, remember when everybody was just in their own little silo and all the mom and pops, and now, who wants to go to Optum and wait on the phone for a half hour? You can't see your primary, you can't get a sick visit. It's just, and then you got the people that use the ER as their doctor's office that are taking up all the rooms and the time. And so it's just a whole host of things, and I rue the day I have to go to the hospital for anything, knock on wood, because I know there's a lot going on there. You guys are short-staffed, and a nurse is seeing 8 people, and the ratio of patients to nurses is not good. So I hope, you guys can keep up the good work and get quality people, and, money talks. So incentivize them to come on board. I mean, I saw the sign-on bonuses and such. This is way out of my wheelhouse, but, I've grown up here and was born at Vassar and all the things. But, the word on the street is you're going to wait there for 8 hours. You're going to wait there for a long time. My brother was just there with his 3-year-old last week, and it wasn't a great experience for him. But, I would avoid the ER unless I absolutely positively had to. But something's got to give, right? So you guys are in charge now, and hopefully we'll see a silver lining and get some quality people, and the nurses can have a better ratio of patients, and we get some good docs.
Yep.
So thanks again for sharing some of this background, because it's not something I'm privy to.
Thank you very much, appreciate it.
Bill?
When you come here and you talk to us, I'm a retired cop, you're talking to most of the people in the town.
Yep.
Please use that, okay? It is rare that the hospital talks out. I compliment you on coming tonight. Don't make it a one-of,
We won't.
okay? Only because it changes the dynamic in the way people think about this stuff, okay? I see it as important. Thank you very much for taking your time to come here tonight.
Jeff?
I basically say the same thing as Bill said, you know, thanks for coming, presenting this, sharing it, you know, being transparent. You know, it's good information for everybody that's here as well as people that are watching it on the channel at home.
Susan, thank you and your team for coming and looking at your Patient and Family Advisory Council. I know that when you first came on board, people brought that up as a good idea and you jumped on the wagon. A lot of times when you come in and you get started, you get overwhelmed. I know that from the position I'm in, and you try to stay focused, and you did stay focused. You know, your goal was, your 4 members were, you discussed, we're gonna fix the emergency room, and you're working on it.
Yeah.
Nothing gets fixed overnight. There are bumps and grinds, things change, but it's definitely a great thing, and to have the information out there and surveys out there so people can actually answer in. Again, for coming here and reaching out to us, because even though you're in the city, our town residents use the hospital all the time. They wanna know what's going on, and just to hear the fact that it's something you're working on, I think is real beneficial to them. So thanks for your team for coming out tonight.
Thank you for having us.
And what's your slogan? Take me to Vassar? Right? So I'll give you a play on that. Go ahead.
Burns Engineering.
You guys don't have to stay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Can I?
Thanks everybody for coming. Appreciate it.
I have some crew. And it's true, they really don't talk so much.
No, all we hear is bad stuff.
This is
This
the
is
first
great
time,
that
though.
again.
People in red are
No, we can see it right in front of us.
the union people.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Stephen Burns. I'm with Burns Engineering Services. I represent Beacon Residential LLC this evening for 297 Violet Avenue. The owner would like to rezone the parcel. This was a project that was in here a couple years ago, and they got pretty close. They ended up with a building permit, I believe, but they never really finished construction, or did much for construction. So their rezone lapsed, and so did all their approvals. So it had a site plan approval, a rezone to the RM district, and it had a couple variances. One mainly the impervious surfaces, parking setbacks, and the third one was a density to get the 4 units. It's a 0.445 acre parcel, and what was proposed and still proposed was the building that's right there. It's a 4-unit building with 2 bedrooms in each unit. They're fairly economical units, and we're hoping that we can get this approved so that we can add a little bit to our housing inventory.
So this was previously approved, but when they brought it back, Mike Welty spoke with me, and because we have new members on the board, I wanted new members on the board to see the plans. And I believe Ann, Bill, and maybe Jeff, this was so long ago.
No, what'd you say, 4 years ago, correct? 4 or 5?
I think the last time that I was here, I picked it up in the middle of the process. but I think that I was here for an extension in possibly 2018.
So it's been quite a ways back. That's why
Where is this located?
279.
Next to Smelling Glass.
It's next to Smelling Glass. It's Smelling Glass is on one side. There's a multifamily on the other, and it's right across from the entrance to New York State DOT.
So you can't really see it, it's a lot of woods.
So it got rezoned? No.
No,
It went through the planning process, and the
It was-
rezoning was pending the planning board review?
No, it went
some
through.
kind of
It went through and got various variances, site plan approval, and was rezoned.
It was rezoned, but it was rezoned contingent
Contingent
on
on the,
something,
Getting a-
getting.
A CO.
Yep.
Right, and they just never finished it.
And all their permits all ran out. So when they came back now,
They had to
normally we
start
could just send them to the board, but a lot of board members have not seen the project.
so it's the same
It's the same exact project.
people, same everything? or
Same
they're
everything.
different?
Yep.
What happened was, well, they were working projects on Beacon, and then COVID hit, and everything kind of
In one building.
Yeah, the owner also had a couple medical issues at the time that kind of slowed him down a little bit.
I mean, I don't love it, but it's the location.
It's not a big project.
It's not
Yeah.
a bad project based on where it is next to a
It's
commercial.
a
What is the
4 acre,
rent for a
4 acre
two-bedroom?
piece of property?
I don't currently know what the rent for the 2 bedrooms are,
It's
to
four-
be
four acres.
perfectly.
It's a, yeah, it's, I think it's.
Perfectly
0.4.
honest.
0.4.
0.4, oh, 0.4. Oh, yeah, that's why it
It's
looks like,
small.
because I was like 4 acres, it doesn't look like 4 acre lot.
There's
Very small.
There's 8 parking spots, 1 reserved parking spot, and also a handicap spot
There's a similar,
as well.
similar building up on the corner right across from the firehouse. So what they're trying to
Where the
do.
bus stop used to be.
Try not to go up that way.
There's also, this backs up to, the property backs up to the manufactured home community. here
Oh,
as well.
yeah.
So
The trailer park.
this is Smelling Glass here. This is actually the building of Smelling Glass. And then this is a multifamily
Yeah.
dwelling right there.
So it fits
And
into.
that would, the parcel to the north, or the top of the page, is in the RM zoning district,
So it's currently zoned what?
R20.
R20.
There's one off from multifamily. Next parcel over is a multifamily.
The next parcel over is multifamily.
So they want it to be zoned multifamily?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Can you
they
get
don't match
4
the zoning
units
next
on a
door.
0.4 acre piece of property with multifamily?
They're gonna be showing 2-bedroom units though.
No, but if it's 0.4 acres, RM is 6 units, right, per acre?
Yeah, I don't know if they got a bonus because of having sewer there.
I think we don't have any of that anymore.
It has sewer and water.
Sewer bon- No, I know, but we don't have water and sewer, there's no water and sewer bonuses in the code anymore. How do you get 4 acres, how do you get 4 units on 0.4 acres even with
A density variance.
a density variance? And who's giving that?
It was, well, we would have to go back to the ZBA and get it, and apply for it again.
They had it the first time, right?
Yes.
And I think Mike was here then too, I believe.
When you first got here. Yeah.
And what's the rationale for density variance?
Because it's dense.
Was this an affordable housing project or market rate?
There'll be market rate.
Good job.
What else do these people own?
You know, I don't know.
Do they have other multifamily?
Beacon Residential owns a lot of multifamily
In Dutchess?
houses about this scale. They
Around
have,
here?
yes, Beacon. I know he has a pretty good inventory in Beacon.
Okay.
I'm not really sure about what he has locally up in the town of Poughkeepsie though.
So where's Builder, where does he have other properties?
He has a building that's very similar to this on, in the city of Beacon. He also owns some other apartment buildings
And who is it?
Beacon Residential is Tim Owen. He was,
Only 4 units, Jeff.
he actually worked
Four.
worked up here as a construction manager for a long
Yeah, oh,
time
yeah.
in the town of Poughkeepsie.
Very tight.
But this was already on its
And you don't have
own.
the address of the other property? In Beacon?
I could look it up for you. I know
Yeah,
exactly what it is.
Could you give me that? Sorry, just to take
You
a
don't have
look.
to give those now, you can make sure we get it, because they're not gonna make a decision tonight anyway,
Yeah.
as long as you can get it to us, yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
I can look it up right on Parcel Access. It's not really that. I actually, I live in the city of Beacon, so I know where a couple of his things are. He's got some brand new stuff on, there's some stuff that he just rebuilt on Ackerman Street.
If you can maybe email supervisor the information, he can get it to us.
Okay.
Take a look at it.
What do I mean,
And,
if he's okay.
you know, I can go through, he does it, he keeps the property nice.
Yeah, it'd be nice to look at them so a board member can get a chance to go down and drive around
Yeah.
and see what they look like.
And Mike, what's your take so far up there with this project? Your ward?
Well, when I first came out, I wasn't overly enthused with the layout, but that property's been abandoned for years. And if I'm not mistaken, there is a house on there, isn't there? Or did you take
There
that
was,
down?
he
There's-
actually took down the house and
There was
cleaned
a
up the
house
eyesore.
that was in total disrepair, so it had to come down. Weeds and trees growing all over it. So the fact that there's a commercial lot next door makes it really hard to want to put a single family there.
There's also a sewage pump station in the front yard.
Yeah, so I mean, you know,
In the front yard of this property?
Yes, it's, maybe it's in the Schmelling Glass property.
yeah, I'm fine with it. Huh?
No, it's just
It's
4
on the Schmelling Glass
houses.
property, just to the south.
But
apartments.
it's a tough parcel. You got a multifamily home on the right side, on the left side of it, depending on where you're standing, and you got Smelling Glass to the opposite side. So, and across from the firehouse. So you've got a lot of noise going on, you know, during the day, and then you got the fire trucks going out at night. Well, if you live in Fairview, you got them going out all the time. So, but he did clean up. The guy that bought the property did clean up an eyesore that was dangerous. So, you know. Yeah, it's not a bad project for
Looks like
the
there's a
area.
good buffer between that and the backside where those, the manufactured homes behind it, so it looks like from there.
There's a pretty good buffer on the manufactured home community. The nearest homes are, the nearest home is probably 100, 150 feet. I'm just guessing from an aerial photo, so.
But you have on that street, you have single family,
Yeah.
and you have a bunch of houses that have been converted to
Yep.
multifamily. Then you have right across from the firehouse on the corner, you have a multifamily residential.
That's where the bus stop was?
It's a resident, yeah, where the bus stop is. It's a residential home for.
So what you're
there's a
looking
bunch of
for,
little apartments in there for people in.
so what you're looking for in the fourth ward is more rentals?
No, I'm looking to clean up an eyesore and put some, give somebody a place to live.
I would ask that everybody, once they get the information of where the other one is, look at the other one, drive up, look at that piece
Yeah.
of property, see what's actually up there. Because as Mike says, you have the DOT, the firehouse across the street, Schmelling Glass, this property, and then the mobile home park behind it. And from the sound of things, a sewer pump station, basically almost in the front yard, which I think is, she says, on Schmelling Glass's property.
Yes, but it's a 6-foot tall chain link fence,
Yeah.
you know.
But if you drive by the property now, it's still, just take a look at the property currently in the state it's in, and something there would be a lot nicer to look at. The house is gone, but still, the lot is a pretty substantial sized lot that just looks barren, so.
You make anything else? Thanks, get us that information, and then we'll get back to you after that.
Okay,
Thanks.
Thank you.
thank you.
On to committee reports. Finance.
Nothing to report.
I will say just so you know, we started the budget process this week, so we've had budget meetings with all except for 2 or 3 departments, and the process is moving forward. Technology.
Yes, okay. Last month on the website, we had 8,060 user visits, and 7,230 of them were new visitors. And the top pages were the transfer station, the building department, pay, and the jobs. And on our email list. We now have 72 new subscribers for a total of 7,040 total subscribers. So that's getting good use. And the good news is that, yes, we now can pay our utility bills online. We went and checked it out tonight, and it appears that it's working. Yay!
Oh, no, you jinxed it.
Yeah.
Don't jinx it.
Yeah, but you have to have your account number. So your address is not enough. You have to actually have your bill and your account number to pay online. And then
Now, the thing is that online, I mean, there's a fee for if you use a credit card. Can you pay through your bank online, or
It's a credit card for any transaction.
just only
It's a
credit
third
card? That's
party.
the
Yep.
yeah.
so we
third
don't
party.
do
And they
any
charge
check.
credit
through the
card?
check.
E-checks are still a
Yes,
fee.
fees.
How
There's
much?
fees for,
What is the fee for the credit card?
I'm not sure. I think it's this, I don't know
It's a
what
standard
company.
fee, right? It's a flat fee?
Mine is a flat fee. Mine's $1.75 up to a certain point, and then it's a percentage. But my
Theirs
office
is a
has a much
percentage.
smaller bill, so
It's a percentage. Yeah, and just so
it's a
as
percentage
Ann,
there.
yeah, as Ann said, you still need your account number.
Yeah.
We did not stop sending bills out, so everybody
Still
that
gets a
has a
bill.
bill due should have a bill to be able to get their account number off. They can sign up and form their own account, so after this time, they won't need it anymore. So once you get the original.
Yeah, but you can still pay at town hall. You can still mail it in. You can still drop it in the box outside. So that, plus also you can go online with your account number and then take a look at your previous bills, and there's a chart that plots your
Is it a whole
usage.
new different credit card company? It's not VPS anymore? Okay. VPS is what I use and what building uses, so it's a different company.
That was easy.
No, it was challenging, but it's done now and it's there. And, yeah, it's just on the website and it says pay.
You go to online payments, right? When you
Yep.
go to the website, there's a button that says online payments.
And you have to
And
click through a
actually,
few more
yeah, actually
pages.
there's like 4 buttons once you hit that. And it's nice too, because I get a lot of calls actually in my office for tax information. And you could look up tax information on anybody's property at those buttons. You just hit online payments, you do school tax, land tax. You can put in anybody's address or last name and look it up for anybody that's interested. A lot of real estate agents, it's a really cool
Oh.
way to find out stuff like that. So there you go.
Okay, then in other news, we're looking for new laptops for the departments to use, and a longstanding phone bill dispute has been worked out, and it's credit coming to the town, so that's good.
Credit to the town. That's even
Credit to
better.
the town.
Nice, good
Yes,
job.
yes, they were claiming we owed them way more than we actually owed them, so,
was a
yes,
fight.
this is good. And then, also too, we're in the process of reviewing our phone service and looking to, perhaps to make a change. And we're continuing to work on the email migration, so, that's it.
Fire advisory,
No report.
infrastructure.
Nothing to report.
You missed rec, just so you
Yeah.
know.
We'll go back to that. Rick,
Rec. They've been very busy. So, like I said, some of the work that's been done so far is the bocce court was rebuilt at the senior center in Greenvale. The tennis courts repaired, painted, lined, sealed. Also, in Greenvale, the basketball courts were relined and sealed. The lower parking lot, they did the expansion. They added approximately about another 30 spots down there for parking down at the bottom of Greenvale. Also, Wi-Fi was installed through a grant from the Poughkeepsie Library District. Hagentown pickleball courts resale
Jeff.
painted. Oh,
Wi-Fi, is it just Greenvale, or is there other parks right now?
I was told it's just Greenville.
Okay, I thought that's where we're still standing.
In Riverview, the basketball courts also resurfaced. They're going to be painted soon. The company that painted the first one didn't come back to do the other two, so hopefully they're going to get that this week, and then one down in New Hamburg the following week, get those. But they both have all been resurfaced. They came out really nice. Looking, some volunteers are expected to paint the pavilion and do the benches and picnic tables at Riverview as well. Creekside Park, the disc golf installation is continuing to have a little pause there. They're going to start that back up again. Crown Heights built a new pitching mound. Carriage Hill, the power wash of basketball courts, they had a lot of moss on that. Sunnyside Park, they had a sinkhole, so they brought some topsoil there. Fairview, there moves the trees by the Memorial Arch. As far as other things going on, there was a diaper drive that they had. It was a huge success. you know, Janet wanted me to make sure to thank everyone, especially the Arlington Fire District, for their generous donation. I think that was the union did that large donation there. Tennis lessons are going strong.
Along the line of that diaper drive, you know, diaper drive was held by our seniors, and through the senior center, they had basically a baby shower. And it just shows you, besides just going to the senior center for programs and everything, they want to be involved. They really, they've done multiple different things, whether it was, I think they had an event, they did something for VA at one time. They've done different events, and besides just coming to the center, they want to be part of the community, and they've done a couple of these outreaches, which are great.
Yeah, I saw that in a couple of pictures on social media. They're all the diapers that were donated over there. The golf lessons begin next week. They still have some openings to sign up. Last week, and they held 2 adult pickleball lessons. A great turnout. And that seems like the big fad now is pickleball. There's some more lessons that are going to take place on Monday, July 31st. They still have the STEM technology camp for children 7 to 11. Before it was limited to town residents, now it's opened up to anybody that would like to take that, you know, build a spaceship or bridges. They're still open. The summer concert series is still going. They had their first one because of some weather issues first delayed it, so they had their first one. You know, last night they said it was a little sparse, but again, it was a hot, humid night. But that's going to be continuing to go on Tuesday, I'm sorry. On the 1st of August, there's the National Night Out with the town police are going to be there. It's also going to be at Greenville the night of the concert too. So you get a 2-for-1. You got the night out. The police are going to be there with K9, Touch a Truck. I know Arlington's going to be there as well.
Don't forget the PBA's cooking burgers and dogs for everybody.
I was going to say, they got Bounce House, Face Paint, Obstacle Course, Touch a Truck, Dunk Tank. Maybe we'll get Jay in that. No,
Yeah.
see that. The PBA is going to, like I said, do some food. They're going to cook food there as well. So, you know, it's a national thing that they have, the National Night Out. And like I said, it falls on August 1st there. And that's it. Busy. Oh, the one thing, I'm sorry for cutting you off.
No.
Is, again, they're still looking for part-time help. The summer help that they had, the college students, nothing but praise. They were great workers. They hate to see them go, but they gotta go back to school. And
Going back
they're
already?
Huh?
They're going back already?
No, they're going back
We're
soon.
losing one.
They're going back soon. They're gonna lose them, but we
one
need
next
somebody for the fall. You know what I mean, for the fall sports there. So, but like I said, she's told me most likely they're all gonna be coming back next year, which is a good sign. They really enjoyed it. Had a good time working for the town.
I just wanted to add one thing about Roachdale Park, our little forgotten park over in the 3rd Ward. Janet's been doing a great job there, so we're getting the basketball courts being resurfaced. We're going to get pavilions.
Somebody called today, so elaborate. They wanted to know what was going on there.
Oh, they did?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, so she's pretty good at she has email addresses to anybody who attended a meeting we had a couple months ago, and the basketball courts are going to be resurfaced. We're getting pavilions put in tomorrow, or is today the 12th, right? Today paving was supposed to start on the court. I'm sorry, on the basketball court. That's what we're doing, repaving, resurfacing. Yes. So she's just been really good about getting the ball rolling with that park. And when I came on the board, that was a very important park to me since it's really close to my house and it's tucked away and kind of forgotten about. But it's back on the top of the list, and Janet's doing a great job.
Right,
so
you said
thanks.
the tennis courts. That's what she has. She says,
Oh,
I missed it. She says, repaved old tennis court in preparation for the new pavilion area.
Yes, okay.
Yeah.
And then, right, and I
Sorry.
think the basketball court's next. That's okay.
I
I
missed
just, well, listen, that's why I'm here, to keep that Roachdale in mind. But just want to thank Janet.
Because it's a lot, you know, you got
Oh, my
I think
goodness.
23 parks in the
Yes.
town, and like I said, they have been neglected before, and she's really trying her best keeping up with that.
She's doing a great job.
Yeah, for years, the smaller parks weren't getting used, but when it used the word COVID, when COVID came, more people were staying home, they're getting more use out of those small parks, and there's a lot going on. And on top of that, Sheath Road, the handicap accessible park should be starting soon also, and there's still the ongoing project down at Jackson Road. Up on the top there in the field there, they've leveled to move the playground over there at the top.
And we were spared with the rain, which was good.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah,
the parks got wet, but that's it, they're drying out. no real damage, so that's a good sign.
And we had to use our indoor facility for day camp on Monday, which is Nassau Road School, which she worked out a deal with Nassau Road for use of fields, for use of school as a swap.
That's
So
the
it
first
didn't
time,
cost
right?
any. We used, I think we used Hagentown one year.
Oh, okay.
We used a couple locations. It makes it difficult, but this worked out good. We were gonna take them to senior center, but they came through and it's working out. That's really.
Great.
Personnel.
Nothing to report.
Okay, two things on personnel that we're currently looking for a full-time building inspector spot. The list has been exhausted through the county, so it will be a provisional appointment. Anybody with experience can, the building trades or plumbers or along that line, some kind of building experience can apply, and we'll ask the county if you'll be able to sit for an exam. So look on the website for possible building inspector, and we also will be having an auto mechanic opening. That'll be posted. If it's not posted today, it'll be posted shortly. So we'll have an opening in the auto department too.
Who's leaving us?
We'll do that. Building consolidation, nothing new. We formed a working group, so we won't be reporting on that. Mike will be reporting on the working group as they move forward. And I've had all I had to say going through all the other ones, so there's nothing to add to that. I will like to thank the group around Town Hall. Chamber of Commerce is having their scavenger hunt, and we asked the departments all to take part. And some of the creativity has been really nice. Comptroller's office is like Pirates. The sewer department put out an educational piece. The building department was set up for like a patriotic theme. So it's different themes are giving different things out. We set up a little photo piece outside. There's bags and goodies for people. It's going on all month. And I also know Dutchess County Park is part of this. So it's nice to see everybody's trying to make this a community, you know, and bring everybody together tight. So I think it's been working out very well. Anybody, anything else? And make a motion to suspend the rules?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Is there anybody that'd like to speak? Doreen, go right ahead.
Thank you. So, Councilman Krakauer, I'm glad to hear that you had a good experience at Vassar Hospital at the emergency room with your relative. I have to say, while I was sitting here listening to that,
Not the emergency room, of the hospital.
Okay, I was a caregiver for a relative for several years. And you made the comment that it shouldn't matter if you're sitting in the ER for 1 hour or 10 hours. Well, it does matter. I counted up, I probably over a span of from 2020 to 2022 had about 34 emergency room visits for someone who is seriously ill. And we have sat in the emergency room for 10 hours. We have sat there with somebody bleeding, somebody who is on blood thinners because they've had bypass surgery. They were dialysis patient, and we sat there bleeding for hours upon hours in the waiting room, given a box of Kleenex. So you may have had one good experience. We've had many. And I tell you, I really fear now having to go to the hospital. Now, my relative has died, so I'm not doing that day to day now. But I worry about myself and my other family members because they just don't have the staffing. The care is terrible. I don't care how beautiful the building is. It is building. I've spent many, many days, up weeks in that hospital because I was the hands-on caregiver. So, when you say everything is fantastic and we're lucky to have them, we really need to be concerned about the quality of care that you get, and it all starts in the emergency room. And, I would have loved for them to have taken some input or questions from the public, even if it was just for 3 minutes. Mike, you told them they didn't have to stay, but it would have been nice if they stayed to the end and they did take some questions. Now, like I said, it's just to hear that. I'm sorry, it was just infuriating.
No, Doreen, I've spent 4 hours, which is not as long as you've spent, obviously, with my son one night up at Northern Dutchess to see his staff, but they had over 40 people waiting in a very small area, so I get what you're saying. But it looks like they are listening to their staff, the frontline staff, and trying to get that time down. So that's why I made my comments that, you know, if you listen to people that are actually with their boots on the ground, things will improve, and it sounds like they are trying to do that, so.
And Dorian, I don't know if I wasn't clear, but my experience was not with the emergency room at all, and my comments were regarding care of a relative who was at the hospital for a procedure, and the quality of the doctors and the staff that was there. So I wasn't commenting, I wasn't advocating as far as their time in the ER, so that was not my experience. I have not experienced the emergency room at Vassar Hospital in quite a long time, thankfully. So that was not what I was talking about. It's not my hospital. I do believe you should talk to them about the concerns and issues that you have.
Yeah, and like I said, you know, everybody in the community needs to be concerned, because when you're in the ER and sometimes there's a wait of 24 hours to get into a room, and you're seriously ill, you know, it's just not a good situation, and we really all need to be concerned about it. So
There's staffing issues everywhere. I called the dentist to get a cleaning appointment, and they're scheduling for Valentine's Day, February of 2024. So there's staffing issues everywhere, which is horrendous. Vassar brought that up on the front end and discussed it. And again, I wish you had the opportunity, I guess, to ask questions and comment, but the staffing issues going on in the medical world are definitely significant. You can't get a doctor's appointment. We were trying to get a physical for my kids, and it's difficult. So that is a concern, but that seems to be something that's happening everywhere.
No, Stephanie just said.
I get it, but it's the, you know, when you go to the emergency room, a lot of times, even if you go in the ambulance, you know how it used to be before, if you went to the ambulance, you were almost guaranteed, you know, you would get right in to see somebody. You know, I have my relatives sometimes transported by ambulance and then set out into the lobby. So, you know, I get all that stuff, but when you're in it and you're living that, you know, you have reason to be fearful. And it's really, you know, maybe their change has only been 6 weeks, but, you know, it's just not good.
Right. And the point I was trying to make was that the investment that they've made in that hospital, in our community, has brought doctors to our community. It used to be you had to go down to New York City for a lot of these doctors, but these doctors are now coming to Poughkeepsie and working in these hospitals. And that was my point.
Hopefully the change at the top.
That investment is, I think, making a difference. It's far from perfect, clearly, and staffing is clearly an issue.
I get it, because I did have to go. I spent months, almost 2 months at Columbia Presbyterian years ago with a relative getting a heart condition, who had needed a heart operation, and things went south. So I am grateful that now we don't have to go down to the city. But all I'm saying is that it's a bad situation, and people in the community need to be concerned.
Hopefully with the new person in the top, because there was somebody there that was not good, and a lot of the senior people they lost, there are some that I know, and the things that were going on before COVID, there was a lot of things. So hopefully she seems very good and open, and so hopefully they're going to...
I give her the credit for coming here
absolutely.
And addressing the issue. I mean, it's going to take a while. And Doreen, I know we spoke about what you've said before. I agree 100%, but the fact that they actually stood up to the plate and said there was issues and we are trying to address them, hopefully in 6 months from now, we'll say things are getting better and hopefully the slots are getting filled. But it sounds like it's, as we said, if it's not a dentist, it's a doctor, it's somewhere else you go, restaurants, but hopefully this will all turn around slowly and we'll get back to where we want, because I was amazed by touring the emergency room and how large it had grown over the years. The last time I was there, it was like 4 or 5 rooms, and now it's either 40 or 60 rooms in the emergency room, which to me
I mean,
is
everything,
like
bus drivers, you can't find,
yeah.
they can't find anybody. Nobody can find anybody. Where are they?
Anybody else have anything to say? If not, motion to resume the rules.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion to adjourn.
Well, I just have one thing, sorry, Jay. I know Mike's not here, Simon's not here, but the issue that was on Cheneville Road with the flooding and the big sinkhole was taken care of like 2 days afterwards.
Oh,
and
really?
with the heavy rains and everything, there was no issues there. So,
Good.
you know, I just want to thank him and his team for really taking care of the residents there on Cheneville Road.
Did
for
the
that
county
issue.
help out at all? Or?
Of course not.
No.
Just all done by-
Just ask.
No. And just, Jeff, one line, I forgot to make the announcement that they're working on the platforms in New Hamburg. So between now and mid-August, there'll be some night work. They put flyers out to some of the neighbors down there just so they know they have issues. That and Railroad Avenue may be down to one lane or closed from time to time because they're taking the concrete off and they'll re-pour concrete. With the commuter hours, some of this work will be done at night, but we discussed the other day, they'll flyer the neighborhood and let people know, and they'll try to let us know when they're actually working at nights, and if we get the information in time, we'll send that over Gov Delivery also. Motion to adjourn?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Now we're adjourned at 8:10 PM. Thank you, everybody.